Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. We've got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right, folks, I want to talk about something today. The 4 dark horse natty candidates. These are 4 teams that could win a national title next year, and they are all very dangerous.
Danger, Will Robinson. Danger. No, Will Robinson. Danger.
No doubt. Let me tell you something. These 4 teams, and I know there's one in there you're thinking, oh, there's no way. Okay, we wait until I talk to you about it. Because these are the 4. Now, we know the obvious, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State. There's a bunch of obvious candidates. But with a 12-team playoff, everything changes. Because when you get into a playoff setting, anything can happen. And these 4 teams have shown some real moxie. And there are changes going on with these 4 teams that could absolutely land them in the playoff, and then they could all 4 be difficult outs. So let's start out with Mizzou. Now, Mizzou had a great year this year. They were 10-2. They're going to be playing Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl, which is a great bowl, by the way. That's fantastic. And here's the thing. I think their quarterback, Brady Cook, is excellent. He is a really tricky quarterback to deal with. He's got a real nice arm. He's very much a dual threat. He will take off and run on you in a heartbeat. He did that to Tennessee, and he did that to a bunch of teams. And they gave Georgia a pretty good fit there for a while. Now, Missouri's got a really good, solid defense, and they have for the last couple of years. 2 years ago, they kind of gave Tennessee a fit up at Neyland, but then we pulled away from them with Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt and all that. But I'm going to tell you something. In the third quarter, they were within a score of us, and we were almost impossible to beat at Neyland. So we started seeing some of the possibilities for Mizzou, and then this year they were very, very good, 10-2. Quarterback coming back, and Eli Drinkwitz, even though he's a total dork, and I get that, is a pretty darn good coach, obviously. And I'm going to tell you what, they're kind of dangerous. I would not be a bit shocked if they wound up in the playoff. They would be in it this year. So take that into consideration. When the same coach comes back, same quarterback, and they've got a really good wide receiver as well. Now, I believe Schrader will be going to the NFL. They're running back. But I'm going to tell you what, they're a dangerous team. And I would not be a bit surprised if they wind up in the playoff. So that's the first team. Now I want to go into my biggest dark horse. Let's talk about the Auburn Tigers.
You serious?
Now, here's the thing about them. Hugh Freeze is a really good coach. Now, I understand you may not like him as a person, but everywhere he's been, he's won. And he's beaten Nick Saban multiple times, and he had Nick Saban beat this year. And before you say, well, they were 6-6 this year, you know, they're not very good. They had Georgia and Alabama beat this year, which are the 2 best teams in the country, in my opinion, or at least arguably so. They had them both beat, and that was this year, okay, at 6-6. You going to sit here and tell me that if they don't get a really good quarterback, they couldn't win 9 or 10 games, get into the playoff? And they're no easy out. I'll just go ahead and tell you, Auburn's tough-nosed. If you watched them this year, yeah, they got beat by New Mexico State. I get that. And this is my darkest dark horse, so I understand this is the least likely. But don't sell Hugh Freeze short. If he gets the right quarterback, and let me show you their recruiting. Right there, 5-star, 5-star, high 4-star, and they're bringing in some big-time players. Look at this. Those are some difference makers, and you'll probably see them this year. So I understand, like I said, this is the least likely to be the dark horse, but I would not sell them short. They are going to be a very tough out. So I'm going to go with Auburn. Granted, they'll be my number 4 dark horse, but don't be shocked if they wind up in the playoff. If not this coming year, I certainly would expect them to be next year with the recruiting they got going on, and they're flipping a bunch of great players. So we'll see how it plays out at the end of this, but don't be surprised if they don't shock the world next year. Now I'm going to talk about one of the more obvious ones, which is Ole Miss. And they might be the most likely to wind up in the playoff out of these 4. It's going to be close, probably between them, Missouri, and Tennessee. First of all, they're 10-2. And whether you like Lane Kiffin or not, and I don't like him personally, but he's a heck of a ball coach. His offensive mindset, he's really good. And what he's done at Ole Miss, winning 10 games down there, is kind of shocking. And he should have done it the year before had he not messed around with Auburn and flirted with them and totally screwed up his team's chemistry. He would have won 9 or 10 games last year. And he's doing it without a very good defense. They're fixing that right now. And I know Tennessee fans don't want to hear that, but I'm going to show you what I'm talking about, and you're going to see it. Look right here. They're predicted to pick up Walter Nolan, which is the best defensive lineman in the country in the transfer portal. There's one. Then you come down here. Princely from Florida is their best edge rusher. He's committed. Tyler Barron, very good edge rusher for us. We know all about him. He's committed. They get those three guys. First of all, Princely and Tyler Barron, that's a very good combo. You put Walter Nolan in there.
Check, please.
That defense changes dramatically. They're spending some money down there. And I think what it's come down to, somebody or some people down at Ole Miss are like, look, this is our one opportunity. We've got a 12-team playoff coming next year. We got the best coach we've had in forever. He's winning 10 games, so he's going to get in the playoff if he does that again. And our defense sucks.
This sucks more than anything that has ever sucked before.
The offense is fine. So they go out and they get the three best defensive linemen they can find in the transfer portal. That changes things dramatically. They have a very high likelihood of reaching the playoff next year. They're a dark horse because everybody's a dark horse behind Georgia, Alabama. We'll see about LSU. They're losing their Heisman Trophy winner quarterback, and their defense sucked this year. So I'm not putting them in the dark horse, but I definitely put Ole Miss in there. And last but not least is my Volunteers for a lot of obvious reasons. First of all, we won 11 games last year. We've won 8 this year, going to a bowl game, going to play Iowa. That's really good. So if we win that game, that would be 20 games, which is averaging 10 wins per year. So obviously they've done really well. Now, granted, Joe Milton's a solid quarterback, but he's a middle-of-the-road SEC quarterback. And we've seen what Josh Heupel's offense can do with the right quarterback, being Hendon Hooker. We were number 1 in the country, went from number 7, which how they did that was just amazing, then went to number 1, scoring 46 points a game. I think we're around 31 or 32 right now. We've got a guy by the name of Nico, who is the number 1 player in the country from last year's recruiting class, and everybody that's seen him, you can see him flashing. If he plays anywhere near like Hendon Hooker did, we're going to be unbelievably dangerous. We've got a great recruiting class coming in, a couple of 5 stars, a bunch of 4 stars, and we're picking up key players in the transfer portal. Our one big weakness was defensive secondary. We are replacing the entire secondary. Our defensive line's all coming back, with the exception of Barron, and we've got a bunch of guys behind him that are really good. Our almost entire offensive line's coming back. We were great rushing the ball. We were great stopping the run. What we couldn't do, we didn't throw the ball as well as we did with Hendon, and our secondary was porous, and we're solving that as we speak. We're picking up guys from the transfer portal. We've got a bunch of 4 stars that are going to be starting that were freshmen this year or sophomores. So we're going to start replacing those 3 stars with 4 stars. And we're not done in the transfer portal. I think they're going to spend some serious money in there and get us some great players. And we just picked up a really nice safety out of the transfer portal. We also picked up the number 1 tight end in the portal. So that's going to help us with our offense as well. So really it's kind of up to what Nico does. If he plays really well, I think we get in the playoff. I think we are a very strong dark horse for a national championship next year. And here's the most dangerous thing about Tennessee. If we get into the playoff, the one team you would not want to play is a Josh Heupel offense, especially if Nico plays like, say, if he plays similar to Hendon Hooker, we become the most dangerous team to face because that's an offense that's almost impossible to stop when it's clicking. Nobody could stop us with the exception of the greatest defense I've ever seen in college, which was Georgia 2 years ago at Georgia. Nobody else stopped us. I can tell you that. So if we become unstoppable again on offense with a much improved defense, I like us. I like Tennessee to reach that playoff and be the most dangerous team in the playoff outside of a Georgia and Alabama or an Ohio State. And once you get into a playoff setting, anything can happen. That's why this 12-team playoff is so exciting. All 4 of those teams' fan bases should be pumped, including Auburn. And I've got some Auburn friends, and I told them, I said, they're going to win 6 games this year. I said, then look out. They could win 8, 9, 10. Hugh Freeze wins everywhere he goes, and he wins quickly. And with the recruits he's picking up and also in the transfer portal, if they get a really good quarterback, Auburn's going to be dangerous. The one team that had Georgia and Alabama beat last year was Auburn. So take that into consideration. So anyway, I did want to cover this. I thought it would be fun, and that's the beauty of the 12-team playoff. It just opens up so many doors for so many teams, and I think it's going to be the most exciting year of football that we've seen in our lifetime. I cannot wait. I know it's going to be absolutely crazy, and that's what I love about it. If you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Lets me know to continue to cover all these teams, SEC. My favorite, of course, the Vols, but I like to cover all the teams that I think are interesting. And if you've not subscribed, it's on your right, my left. Just hit this little button. I would appreciate it. I mentioned that the other day that I'm getting, quite a few views, but I've not been getting a whole lot of subs because I'm at like 30% people are subbing that are watching, which is really low. But my views are high. So, you know, we need to see if we can do something about that.
I'm not going to beg you. My track record speaks for itself.
Can we stop this cruel game and allow the boy to keep one shred of dignity?
And right over here's the most recent video YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.